And people used to call me Dumbo as a kid because I had big ears as well. So
My mom's in the kitchen just like, oh my God.
wait, what are you doing? Sorry, BAFTA, my dog is eating Darren Aronofsky's tissue. Well, my name is Darren Aronofsky.
And I'm Matt Smith.
One of the greatest filmmakers alive.
And I'm...
Up-and-coming actor. Thank you very much.
Dr. Who, I mean, I work with Edgar Wright. I mean, Edgar Wright was a much better director than Darren Aronofsky, by the way. Yeah, this is film first.
Oh, yeah, this is film first.
We're here at BAFTA.
It's our film first.
Well, for me, the first film that I claim to be my first film is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But there was something else I saw. I remember the movie theater. I remember I was with my uncle and my sister. I remember like leaving and walking across this bridge in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. I fall back on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory because it was probably like, I saw that so many times theatrically as a kid.
Because what's amazing about that film is that...
Schnozberries?
But
what's a schnozberry?
and it scares you. It scares you in a controlled way, which is really important in a kid's film. Like when he's on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
And G Models like it's just,
I never liked that sequence. I like it now, but as a kid,
Yeah, 'cause it's scary.
It was very scary.
It's very scary, yeah. I used to go to my local store and buy this Kung Fu movie and rent this Kung Fu movie over and over again. And to this day, I've been trying to search it out. I can't really remember the first one I saw, but the first one I bought with 1,001 pennies, and I was too young to buy it. And I went to Tesco, which is a shop here. And I bought RoboCop.
Wow.
With 1,000, and the guy was like, "Are you old enough to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was obviously, clearly not, but I gave this whole speech about it, and yeah, that was the first one I bought.
I remember RoboCop, seeing it in the theater. I don't think I went to that movie, and I snuck into RoboCop afterwards.
Oh, really?
And wow. I mean, when you even watch that film now, the level of satire.
It's amazing. When you get shot, it's brilliant.
It's very intense. Film I saw at a young age that I shouldn't have is the question, and for what immediately pops in my head was Saturday Night Fever. 1977. I'm 8 years old. That film is placed in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, which is probably 3 miles from where I grew up. So you can imagine like the disco explosion taking over the world is only 3 miles from my house. Every kid got to see it, but my parents were like, no way. They were school teachers. They were like, not gonna happen. And we were begging them. And me and my older sister, she's 2.5 years older. Finally, my mom convinced my dad it's okay. All the other kids have seen it. And during the movie, there's like the kind of sex scene in the, there's that in the back of the car, and my dad's like kind of hitting my mom, my mom's like, don't worry, it's over their head. Yeah. The next day at breakfast, my mom's making breakfast, and me and my sister are talking. We start debating what a BJ is.
Oh no.
And we're like, and my mom's in the kitchen just like, oh my God. And my mom, and we both go, Mom, who's right? And my mom, this is my favorite line. My mom's just like, Patty, listen to your brother.
Wait, what are you doing? Sorry, BAFTA, my dog is eating Darren Aronofsky's tissue.
And it was not used, luckily.
It doesn't matter. I think he'd prefer it if it was. So the same movie store, or the film store, I used to go and get like Indecent Proposal and Sliver and Disclosure. I was sort of obsessed with like those Demi Moore kind of Sharon Stone type films. But similarly, I remember watching Pulp Fiction as a kid at a sleepover with my best mate, Bondi. And no word of a lie, put it on. And his dad walked in just as I'm gonna get 2 pairs of pliers and blowtorch and you know what I mean? And it was actually in the scene. And we were both like, First formal TV show that
Go TV.
Oh, do you know what? And I'm still obsessed to this day. I think it's my mastermind subject. I watch it minimum, still to this day, in sort of a vaguely sort of, in a good way, is I'm Alan Partridge. Anything to do with Alan Partridge. I think that's the greatest comic creation that's come out of Britain for the last 30 years. Yeah.
Fair enough. Totally dating myself in front of you, but like...
Totally, right?
It was The $6 Million Man with Steve Austin. That was like, every boy in America had that doll.
And what was it, like an episodic thing?
It was like
every week.
He was like a guy, $6 Million Man, which doesn't quite work anymore. But like he basically was this pilot who was in a plane crash, and they rebuild him. They give him bionic arms and legs and a bionic eye, and then he's like a secret spy. It was very big. It was great.
That was great.
It was great.
First TV show that we've watched that makes us want to act
or direct. Growing up, I had no idea what a director was. I think I grew up when George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, the names were household names, but like how to become a director was not anything that was at all possible for a kid from South Brooklyn as an idea. Probably the one that like triggered me that this might be a path or something, or started to open my eyes was I went to the movie theater and the movie I wanted to see was sold out, and there was another movie and there was a guy on the poster with a Brooklyn hat. And when you're from Brooklyn, you're kind of fascinated with Brooklyn. So I went in, and the movie had already started, and it was the opening kind of dating montage of She's Gotta Have It by Spike Lee. And there was like a montage of all these guys doing their pickup lines for Nora Darling. And it was packed audience, and people were just laughing. And I had never seen anything like it on film in a movie theater before. And it was so specific to Brooklyn. Like I knew all the characters in it. And that was like, oh, this is like working for this incredible, for all these people, yet it's so specific to like a world I know. So I think that was the first thing.
I sort of came to it quite late, acting. I was more interested in playing football and stuff. So,
that's right.
But I was always obsessed with watching film. The idea is that you're being sort of transported into that creative, imaginary bit. You know, that's what happens when you thought, oh, I could do that. And I just remember, like, even watching The Goonies, from the moment those bikes sort of like whip through the rain, and the scale of the pirate ship, and just the sort of, yeah, there's something about that film that really drew me into it. And then in my teens, I just got really into like Nicholson and Hopkins, and I was just like, I started just getting obsessed with those two. Goonies is it's a brilliantly made film. Yeah. Who directed Goonies? It's not Christopher Columbus, he produced it, did he?
No, Richard Donner, Dick Donner.
My first memory of being the Doctor in Doctor Who, I was just, I mean, I don't know, I was sort of like just utterly intimidated. I'd like walk down the street and people would shout, "Don't break Doctor Who." You know, literally, they'd be like, "Don't." It's like because you're taking on this.
Yeah, of course.
And it was this, and I phoned my dad one day and I went, "I don't think I can do this." This is like 3 weeks in, and he was like, "Listen, get your head down. You've got this." And yeah.
No, great.
Yeah. But it was, I don't know. It was a blur. I was just like, "What the fuck is going on, man?"
Yeah.
But I'm always thrilled that I'm associated with that.
My first meeting with Natalie Portman on Black Swan, or just in general, we had mutual friends. Her early manager was a mate from college, and so I met her when I think before she was even, went through Harvard and college, and she was an up and coming actress. I think she had done like The Diary of Anne Frank and stuff, and she was just great, and there was so much potential. And then we just very early on were talking about like let's figure out something to work on, and but probably the first meeting I remember we did on Black Swan was like 10 years before we ever filmed. We went to a rehearsal of New York City Ballet and just sort of sat watching the rehearsal, talking about what it could possibly be. Neither of us knew at that time it was going to take 10 years before the script would come together and it would make sense. First movie I cried in was probably The Champ. Probably don't know it. It was like it was a huge tearjerker with Ricky Schroeder. Do you know who that name is? No. He was like a child star in America. It was a big deal if you grew up when I was a kid. So The Champ. It was like like a little kid whose dad went back to the ring and dies in the ring in front of him. It was a big father-son one. It was heart-wrenching.
They always get me, the father-son ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if I cried a lot in the films as a kid. I mean, I always used to fucking think, I didn't like Dumbo's mum being locked up, man.
Yeah.
That used to get to me. And people used to call me Dumbo as a kid because I had big ears as well. So it doubly sort of flexed me off, man. Yeah. So maybe that. But maybe I was crying for me. Yeah. I'd cut to a picture of Dumbo and me. It was terrible. And my parents just say, "Don't worry, you'll grow into them."
You did.
That's why I was probably nervous about.
Yeah. You were like, trauma. It was like trauma from PTSD from childhood.
Blown into the Hudson.
What was both your first reaction to reading the script for Stealing?
Well, I didn't have a first. I mean, I guess I did. Charlie had written a script and I read it and I was like, oh, there's a lot of potential here, and I want to develop it. So I think you would have a different experience because you probably read it. Now, did you read it with Russ being an American still?
I auditioned first in America.
Oh, you
I
did?
put myself on tape in America.
In English, with an American accent?
In New York, I dived in. It was so quick. They were like, Yeah, with an American accent, I dived into a thing and did it really quickly. But I read it. I have to answer honestly, as though you're not here, Darren. I read it and went, "Wow, Darren Aronofsky's going to direct this movie," because it felt like a sort of. Darren's a bit like Radiohead in that every film feels like like a Radiohead album. Everything feels sort of really vividly different. You know what I mean? And so this, I felt like. Not that you've got a wheelhouse, but it just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I was like, feel free to insult me. It's okay. No, you can't. You won't actually. It's fine.
But I don't mean that as an insult. I was like,
no.
wow, it's going to bring, and which I think when you watch the movie, you realise that's what's happened.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, how exciting. And then I thought, I've got to get this part because I did. I thought, there's like certain scripts you read where you're like, I'm going to go after this one. I really want to get it, and this was one of those.
And it was great how it evolved. I think.
Yeah.
Originally, it was just in the book, Russ is actually not so different than Hank. That they kind of look alike, and I just was like, he wasn't a very distinct character. He was just a guy that lived next door. He was like another kind of jockey guy that lived next door, and I was like, that's not what New York is. What's brilliant about New York is behind each door is a unique character. Yeah. Maybe he's a punk, but it was more like a Ramones punk. An American kid that was still holding on. And then there was some other British actor who came in who's really good, who did an American who was good, and I just said, hey, can you just try it in Cockney? And he did, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I started talking about Charlie. What would it mean to rewrite it as an English character? Because there were definitely. Some Englishmen said to me yesterday, a punk in 1998, that's exactly where they would be the East Village, because they wouldn't be hanging out in London anymore, because they just wouldn't be cool anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of perfect.